Hi everyone, thank you. So I am Chilyn. So now let's get into it. So before we begin, I want to remind everyone, if you want to refer back to the topics I have talked about last week, which is about our central nervous system, you can refer to our ELKEN Story YouTube channel. And there are many languages provided. So today so back then I have talked about ELG6 and was talking about, it was about immune system. Now, let's just have a brief recap. Actually, our immune system is like the line of defenses in a castle, for a castle. So, like our body would be attacked by the external bacteria and unwelcome guests, right? So the first line of defense is known as barrier. And it's like the moat and the drawbridge outside the surroundings of a castle that protects the castle from having any unwelcome guests so that the enemies wouldn't get to enter easily. Because once they start closing the gates, the enemies wouldn't be able to cross the moat, right? So in our body, we have our skin, our mucus, like earwax and tears as the first line of defense. So actually, they prevent bacteria or viruses from directly entering our body. So sometimes, why do we have flu or like cough? And when we have that, we have mucus. So actually, our mucus is accumulated with like the bacteria and stuff. And therefore, if you have mucus or like a snot, you should actually get rid of them because you're actually getting rid of the bacteria. So the second line of defense is our innate immunity, and its immune system is general, which means that it's unable to respond to specific viruses. However, our innate immunity is still very important because it's like these soldiers and archers at the castle wall, always ready to counterattack towards the opponents. So similarly, this is like the white blood cells in our body. White blood cells have really quick responses. And if they spot any viruses or bacteria, they would immediately eat up the pathogens, and so that they won't have a chance to further harm our body. However, this innate immunity is actually not strong enough to protect us because innate immunity is the immune system that we have right after we are born. So that is why we have the third line of defense, which is our adaptive immunity. Therefore, its immune response is more specific. It has the ability to identify certain viruses, and it can remember it. And in the future, if these viruses return, our body would have the ability to respond more quickly and to demolish them before it can harm our body. And this is like the last defense of a castle, which are the soldiers within the castle. So even if some enemies manage to get past and enter the castle, there's still soldiers there to protect and defend. And in our body, the third line of defense is our T cells and B cells. So they're actually type of white blood cells too, and it can identify certain viruses and observe its surface, like its shape, and learn how to produce antibodies to kill those specific pathogens. So T cells and B cells work together to make that happen. And actually, B cells also has the ability to keep it in its memory. So when our body encounters those pathogens again, it can respond to it more quickly. So actually, it takes some time to form the antibodies. Therefore, it's like how we get the vaccine. It takes some time for us to actually build the immunity, the immune system, and immune response. So as mentioned earlier, we talked about antibodies, right? So the antibodies in our body can be divided into 5 main types. Of course, from these 5 major types, we can break down to even more types. So these 5 types are known as also known as immunoglobulins, IgG, IgA, IgE, IgD, and IgM. And all of them have their own specific functions, but you don't really need to study what each of their functions are. But what you need to know is that if you want to have a stronger first line of defense, you need to pay attention to IgA as it resists invaders via ear, nose, and blood. And IgG is also very important as it eliminates toxins and neutralizes invaders, as well as resists bacteria and viruses. So it protects us from getting any infections or allergies. So this is really important. IgA is really important for like little kids, especially like infants, because they have a weaker first line of defense. Now, the very first question, is bovine colostrum beneficial for the immunity of the human respiratory system? As mentioned earlier, bovine colostrum is beneficial in boosting our immune system when it comes to our intestines and infections. So for this clinical study, it mainly focuses on observing children. So as for our respiratory system, there are many clinical studies and research papers that found that bovine colostrum is effective on the recurrent respiratory tract infections and diarrhea among children. They found that bovine colostrum reduces children's number of episodes and hospitalization due to URTI infections. And in conclusion, bovine colostrum could be provided as a therapeutic option for children with recurrent URTI and diarrhea. So actually, that's right. So that's the findings that they found. So actually, it can help lessen these symptoms and these conditions among children. So another research paper also showed that colostrum shows positive effects in treating respiratory infections. Just now, that study focuses on children, and this study focuses on adults. So why is bovine colostrum beneficial for respiratory infections? And that is because of certain factors. This is because it contains TGF-beta, lactoferrin, and immunoglobulins, which are active components that can help to prevent asthma and URTI. For sport person or for those who does a lot of exercises, because of excessive training, and they will need like a lot of stamina. Actually, excessive training would affect their immune system because your body will get inflamed. And therefore, like some sports person, because of excessive training, their immune system will get repressed and increases the risk of getting URTI. So replenishing on bovine colostrum is very beneficial in these situations. Because this study also stated that bovine colostrum supplements shows positive effects in treating upper respiratory tract infections. And as mentioned earlier, this is because bovine colostrum contains TGF-beta, lactoferrin, and immunoglobulins. And these components can help to prevent infections or inflammation, so maybe if you get inflamed, it has the anti-inflammatory effects. So second questions, like maybe some newcomers doesn't understand what is bovine colostrum and why is it good for our immunity. So actually, when cattle give birth, they will start to secrete milky fluid, right? And they look like milk, but they are very different from milk because the nutrients and antibodies that bovine colostrum contains greatly surpasses those that milk contains. And if you compare it with milk, actually milk they only have they're only high in protein and calcium. But actually, colostrum contains many more nutrients. Therefore, it's called colostrum as it is the secretion from mammals after giving birth. So those that turns into milk are no longer colostrum. Therefore, colostrums are very valuable. And it is valuable because it contains more than 70 types of active components. And these active components have certain benefits to our body. As mentioned earlier, we have our TGF-beta. So actually, it benefits in many ways as it can protect and regulate our immune system. And as mentioned earlier, the active components that it contains, such as lactoferrin and immunoglobulin, play important roles in helping our immune cells to function better. And which strengthens our immune system and helps fight against bacteria and viruses. So lactoferrin is actually a type that can help with our inflammation. And besides that, it also contains growth factors. And so many individuals' knowledge of growth factors is that they can help with recovery and growth, right? Besides speeding up wound recovery, it also reduces scar formation and promotes muscle recovery and regulates innate immunity and inhibits our adaptive immunity. So therefore, having certain growth factors can help control and inhibit respiratory infections or asthma. So last question, what is the most important, and which is the most important, how to choose bovine colostrum supplement? Actually, there are four main key factors you should pay attention to when choosing a bovine colostrum. So the first one is to learn about the active ingredients that it contains, because each bovine colostrum has different manufacturing processes. So the amount that the active components that is left with would differ as well. And the second one is its manufacturing processes, like what type of technology does it use and whether it can preserve as much active ingredients as it can. So the third one is the source of the bovine colostrum, like whether if it's tested for safety, or you can check its certifications to see if it's free from hormones, pesticides, and antibiotics. And this is why it's really important, because for Muslim friends, they might want to check if this supplement is halal or kosher. So remember to check these certifications. So as mentioned earlier, a good supplement should contain at least 30% of IgG. So how do we check if it contains 30% of IgG? So actually, clinical studies have proven that IgG content in the first milking is 200% higher than the second or the third or the fourth milking. Therefore, the first milking is the most valuable because the percentage for IgG decreases after each secretion. So if you want to know whether the supplement you are buying is valuable, you should know that you should be attentive if whether what you're eating is valuable. So as for ELG6, the collection of colostrum is from the first 6 hours after the cattle gave birth. So actually, other colostrum might only contain 15% of IgG. Therefore, that is what makes ELG6 different. And the second is its technology, as in how it is manufactured. So ELG6 uses flash pasteurization technology and low heat drying technology. because we are trying to pursue whether if it can quickly disinfect and to manage it in low heat. Because if it uses too long time, or if heat is too high, it will wash away the active ingredients, or they will be killed or damaged by the high heat. So here they use flash pasteurization technology, which means that they would only use 15 seconds to disinfect. And within these 15 seconds, it is able to remove all harmful pathogens in colostrum, yet maintain 100% bioactivity of IgG. And as we need to transform it into powder form, we need low heat drying technology, because with low heat drying, it can ensure that it protects the bioactivity of protein and active components. And even if it is drying it, it can also eliminate any burn compounds. And actually, general manufacturing process is unable to reach this timing. Therefore, the active components it manufactures wouldn't be able to reach these standards. And this is why manufacturing processes and technology should be paid attention to, because if not, you wouldn't be obtaining at least 30% of IgG in your bovine colostrum supplements. Now, the third factor is its source. Where does it come from? Actually, ELG6 is sourced from dairy cows, and they're certified by the US Department of Agriculture. So why do we say that this source is safe? This is because of how the certified grade A dairy cows are raised. Its living environment and water sources are not polluted by DDT, and its cattle feed also does not contain 4 dangerous elements such as pesticides, insecticides, chemical hormones, or antibiotics. And this is why we say that they are sourced from very high quality dairy cows. Lastly, we should see whether if it has any certifications or awards. And like, we're talking about just like the basic certifications. So ELG6 had won the gold medal for public health. And of course, it was also certified by FDA and CGMP, which is a certification for current good manufacturing practices. This means that it uses up to standard manufacturing processes to manufacture high quality products. And as for our Muslim friends who want to know whether if it is suitable for them, there are both halal and kosher certifications. So that's it for my sharing. Thank you.